morning. My name is Hamit Hamutçu. I'm a senior advisor with the Institute for Experiential AI. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, someone who's been a great mentor and then a business partner for me at the company he co-founded, Peppers & Rogers Group. He was trained as an astronautical engineer at the Air Force Academy, believe it or not. But then he decided to revolutionize marketing instead, which I think was a good choice. Along with Martha Rogers, I believe they created the whole one-to-one marketing movement, which laid out the foundations for a lot of the thinking in data-driven marketing, data-driven business. His thinking foresaw a lot of the advanced applications of data science and AI in marketing, in business in general. He's a leading authority in customer experience. His books have sold, I've recently read, more than 1 million copies in 18 languages around the world. We thank Don for being with us here today, and I'd like to invite him to the stage. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Hamid, for that lovely, very flattering introduction, and just the way I wrote it. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you about my discipline, which is the customer experience, and what AI has to contribute to a discipline that now is probably at the leading edge of business competition. But where I want to start is with a little bit of the review of what many of you probably know are systems. And Donella Meadows, great work thinking in systems. She said, systems may exhibit adaptive, dynamic, goal-seeking, self-preserving, and sometimes evolutionary behavior. And when she's talking about a system, she's not talking about an animal. She's talking about an organization of self-directed units. It's a system. Social insects like ants and bees are systems, and all such systems must balance exploitation and exploration. Exploitation is what they do to exploit their existing food sources, to how bees make honey out of the nectar that they've harvested, but they explore also to find additional sources of honey. Even though bees may live in a hive that's fully stocked with nectar and honey, they will still explore. Let me just play you a quick video showing how bees explore, and I'll explain a factoid about it later. That's a very interesting factoid I found. So let me play this video.
Honeybees have some fascinating abilities, among them being able to communicate by performing a unique dance. It informs hive mates where a newly discovered food source is located. Every cycle of this waggle dance roughly describes the shape of the figure 8. Let's rewind and look in more detail. The bee only waggles on a part of its route, the straight run, indicated here by the waved line. The secret lies in the direction of the straight run, or to be more precise, in the angle between the straight run and the perpendicular, which in this case is 90 degrees to the left. This tells the other bees that food is available 90 degrees to the left of the sun. If the angle is 60 degrees to the right, they'll be flying 60 degrees to the right of the sun.
And what's interesting about bees is that unlike most animal species, bees can see in the infrared spectrum. A lot of animal species can see ultraviolet. Predator birds can see ultraviolet. It allows them to see urine trails left by prey on the ground. That's ultraviolet sight. But bees are one of the only species that can actually see in the infrared spectrum. And the infrared is important because they can see where the sun is even on a very cloudy day. They know where the sun is. Bees communicate with other bees to help them explore for more food sources. Now, these kinds of businesses are also complex adaptive systems. Businesses are complex adaptive systems, and exploitation focuses a business on improving its productivity, creating efficient mechanisms for basically winning with its current business model. Exploration is about experimentation, lean startups, design thinking, agile management, as opposed to exploitation, which is about error correction and efficiency and automation. These are two different functions that in physics you would call, there's a complementarity about them. They conflict with each other. They complement, but they conflict with each other. The things that you do to exploit are different from, and objectives are different from the things that you do to explore. Success comes differently. Exploitation has a defined path with outcomes that are predictable, repeatable, and precisely quantifiable. Exploration is very different. Surprising, unpredictable, cannot be known in advance, as Alila said, that Dr. Bose said, imagining things that no one has thought of. That's exploration. That's exploration. Now let me tell you a story about 3M. 3M is one of the world's most innovative companies. It's given us everything from Scotch tape to Post-it notes over the years. Because innovations come from exploration, they make up a set of unpredictable, random outcomes. As Collins and Porras said in their book, Built to Last, if we mapped 3M's products on a strategic map, it wouldn't make any sense. But we know that they make sense because they're all these cash cows and strategic wins on the matrix. But it's impossible to say where those innovations came from. Why? Because they came from good ideas that are random, that come unpredicted. In the late 1990s, 3M's costs soared, and their revenues were okay, but their margins suffered. So in 2000, the board named GE veteran James McNerney as the new CEO. And McNerney was a black belt Six Sigma student of Jack Welch at GE. And so he brought in the Six Sigma system, and the profits and revenues increased and margins increased, and it was a really good signal. Unfortunately, innovation suffered. Innovation suffered. In the years following the introduction of Six Sigma, their innovation rates plummeted. The number of really innovative 3M products plummeted, while the number of incremental innovations increased. The board got concerned, so they replaced McNerney with a British engineer named George Buckley, who was an innovation specialist, and Buckley succeeded in rekindling 3M's innovativeness. Buckley says, look, invention is by its very nature disorderly. You can't put a Six Sigma process into that area and say, well, I'm getting behind on invention, so I'm going to schedule myself for 3 good ideas on Wednesday and 2 more on Friday. It doesn't work that way. No, indeed. It doesn't work that way at all. Now I'm going to talk to you about my discipline, what this has to do with the customer experience. Because there's really 2 dimensions to the competition process for a business. You have to, and I want to think about it in terms of a dimension, okay? There are 2 things that you have to do to be able to compete successfully. You have to be able to satisfy some customer need, okay? And you have to have a customer who wants to have that need satisfied. If you could satisfy a customer's need, and if you have a customer who wants that need satisfied, theoretically you can start a business. But that creates a 2-dimensional competitive space. And let me put it this way. Customer needs satisfied at the vertical, and customers reached across horizontal. If I focus on a particular need, I have a particular product that meets a certain need, I try to find as many customers as I can who want to have that need met. That is my market share. That's product-centric competition. I have a product, and I have a unique selling proposition of that product. It's unique to the product. It's not unique to the customers. It's the same for all the customers, but it's unique to the product, to the basic need that the product meets. I'm going to find more customers for my product. But because of technology, because of the ability to interact with individual customers, one customer at a time, because of the ability to retain information about those customers on a computer system, not have to run to the filing cabinet and look it up on a piece of paper, and because of the ability to mass customize the interactions we have with individual customers, show one customer movie X and one customer movie Y when they ask for what to see, now businesses can compete in the vertical direction, which is focusing on one customer at a time and trying to satisfy as many of that customer's needs as possible. The object of product-centric competition is to focus on each product's features and benefits and sell that product over and above other competitive products. But the object in the customer-centric dimension is to focus on each individual customer experience. Focus on the individual customer experience, and theoretically, if you have a better customer experience, you have more loyal customers. Almost. The reality is that customer satisfaction is not very highly correlated with customer loyalty. One study of almost 100,000 consumers found that the R-squared was 0.13. That's almost no correlation at all. In fact, the R-squared between you getting good grades in university and getting a high salary is 0.6 or 0.7. Okay? However, this study found that dissatisfaction is very highly correlated with disloyalty. So you have to think of the customer experience as an opportunity to drive your customer away. Okay, and how do you avoid that? How do you avoid doing that? You need to have empathy with the customer. You need to understand what it feels like to be the customer. What does it feel like to be the customer? Martin Lindstrom tells a very interesting story in his book, Small Data. He said that he was giving a presentation to the executives at Ansell Corporation, an Australian company. It used to make condoms. It doesn't make them anymore, but 15 years ago when he gave this presentation, it made condoms. And he said he was in a conference room, and the executives, about 150 executives, were sitting around at tables, conference tables in the conference room. And when he got up to start the presentation, he gave a nod off stage, and they shut the lights off. It's totally black, pitch dark in the conference room. And he said, "Now, ladies and gentlemen, at your table, there is an Ansell condom right in front of you. Every place has a condom. Please open your condom." And he started a timer. It went 15 seconds, and 30 seconds, and 45 seconds. And after 1 minute, only about 15% of the people had actually managed to get the condom open. And he turned the lights on again. And he said, "What does that tell you about your customer experience?" That's an example of what I would call friction in the customer experience. The ideal customer experience, your customers don't come to you for having an experience of coming to you. They come to you to solve a problem or to meet some need. If that problem were to go away, or if that need were simply to be met without any action on their part, that would be the ideal experience. No experience would be the ideal. So you want to make your customer experience as frictionless as possible. You want to discover any problems that are out there that customers might not have told you about yet. I'll tell you another story. When I was growing up in the Midwest in Missouri, a friend of mine, Tom, and I, we had a lawn mowing business. Actually, we had two different businesses. We were in competition with each other. And Tom told me a story about going into the drugstore, the local drugstore, Shelley Drugs. And this was before teenagers carried smartphones with them, all right? So nobody had cell phones in the town. And he went in the drugstore and he said, "Mr. Shelley, can I borrow your phone?" And Mr. Shelley said, "Sure, Tom, there's a phone." It's a small town, everybody's friendly. And so Tom dialed a number. Remember that? Dialing a phone, remember that? So he dialed this number and he said, "Hi, Mrs. Jones, yes, I cut lawns for money in the summertime, and I wondered if I could cut your lawn this summer." "Oh, someone's cutting your lawn. Well, are you happy with the job they're doing?" Well, God, I'm glad you got somebody you can depend on, but I'll tell you what, I'll call you in the spring, and maybe I'll cut your lawn next year if you're, all right, yes, ma'am, thank you, bye-bye, hangs up. Starts at the store. Mr. Shelley said, He's an entrepreneur. Mr. Shelley is like, he's got 3 drugstores, right? He's a very successful businessman. Tom, that's great selling technique. You got a terrific technique, Tom. Nobody can resist that. But selling, it's about numbers. You need to call more than 1 prospect. If you called 10 prospects, you'd probably be cutting 3 or 4 more lawns tomorrow, I bet you. And Tom said, oh, Mr. Shelley, I'm sorry. You misunderstood the reason I called. Actually, I'm not trying to cut her lawn. I already cut her lawn. Just want to make sure she's happy with the job I'm doing. Who is the smarter entrepreneur? Tom was in the complaint discovery business. He's trying to discover any friction in his customer experience, friction he may not be aware of. There are a number of ways you can do that. What Tom was doing is what we would call mystery shopping. Mystery shopping, right? You can mystery shop your competitors. You can mystery shop yourself. But you can also look at voice of customer surveys. That's when you get a survey, and on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate us, satisfaction, or a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend us to others? The point of those kinds of universal surveys should be to discover complaints and reach out to people when you see those complaints and try to take that friction out of your customer experience. You can also discover complaints simply by observing how things are going. What proportion of invoices had a mistake on them? What proportion of products are returned? Or monitoring social media. All these are mechanisms that CX professionals use today to try to discover friction in their customer experience and take it out so that other customers don't encounter that kind of friction. Okay, back to our dimension of competition. Product-centric competition is exploiting your current business model. Customer-centric competition is exploring for more customer needs to meet. I think that's something that, who was it? What Gaia said from Prudential. She said it's all about, it's meeting more customer needs, And that sort of exploration is something that can be assisted by AI. There's a company I work with right now called Alterna CX, and they help CX professionals build their share of customer by reducing friction in the CX. What AI does is sort of complaint discovery. They look through the text comments, and they have an AI tool that looks through the text comments and other sorts of signals from the customer, and they decode the signals, okay? They say, here's a complaint, or here's an emotion behind a situation. So that the CX professional doesn't have to spend hours going through these comments manually. It's simply a way to explore more efficiently. And real-time alerts for human workers. It also, AI helps anticipate the next need. How do you think Amazon makes purchase suggestions, or Netflix makes film recommendations? It's through AI tools. And ensuring each customer's success with the IoT feedback and product as a service, comparisons with other customers, customer-specific situational advice. All these mechanisms for increasing the share of customer that you have with a business, with a customer, all these mechanisms can be AI supported, but they require humans in the loop. They require human beings. The human beings are the customers for the AI tools here. The human beings that are customers of AI tools in this case are the customer experience professionals that I deal with. We need AI to help us do a better job satisfying our customers. As Kissinger and Schmidt said in their book, The Age of AI, 3 types of decisions to be made. Decisions made by humans, which is familiar, by machines, which is becoming familiar, but also by collaboration between humans and machines that's unfamiliar, it's unprecedented, and it is a form of using AI that we're going to have to get used to. It's experiential AI, human in the loop AI. It's going to be critical to a successful customer experience competitor in the future. Thank you very much. You've been a delightful audience. Thank you.